What's up, freaks? This is just me, and today we're taking a look at the quads in the rear poses. So, we're basically only discussing the quad sweeps because that's the only part of the quads that is visible from behind, and that's still only if presented correctly. And we're also gonna look briefly at the adductors, that's the inner part of the thighs, and you can see that from the back too, if it's developed enough. Alright, one more thing. The bodybuilders need to adopt a bit of a wider stance for us to be able to see the sweeping quadriceps from the back properly. And of course, it won't work if the thighs themselves are not developed enough, as I already said. So to determine the best squats from the rear, we're gonna use the back double biceps and lat spread poses, or potentially another back pose. It doesn't really matter because we're looking at just the quads, not the whole pose. We're gonna have the bodybuilders in increasing order, meaning the best of the best are gonna be at the end. However, this list is not gonna be objective, it's all just my opinion after all. Even though I try to look at the whole picture and be at least not biased. Okay, without further ado, let's start with the entries. First is a 90s lesser known bodybuilder, Roland Sherlock. Sorry if I said that incorrectly. This guy is very impressive in the quad sweep department, as we can see from these pictures. We can see that even from the back, despite the execution of the poses, is not flattering to the quads, as I was talking about at the start of the video. He's not displayed properly, but we can still see the sweeping quads. I guess they just didn't pose this way because this was in the 90s. That's just how it is. But we can still tell Roland has immense potential. This is a 2010s competitor, unfortunately deceased, Dallas Macarthur. Now, Dallas didn't have very standout quads, but they were really good, and I thought they looked pretty noteworthy from the back. The shape of the quads is very round and they're thick enough to catch your eye, so I included Dallas Big Country. Rest in peace. This is Alexander Fedorov from the 2000s mainly, another guy who doesn't focus on pointing out how impressive the quad sweeps look when he does his back poses, but we can catch the impressive flaring quads anyway. Pretty beefy sweeps and a long muscle belly too, which I think is very flattering. Now, believe it or not, this is actually Dave Palumbo, who also had great quad development in the 90s and 2000s, even though he never turned pro. Again, the display is not convenient for judging the quads from the rear either way. You can see how ridiculously big and long the quads are, so very impressive. Mustafa Muhammad has a spot on my list. Again, he's a 2000s bodybuilder, very well developed quadriceps on Mustafa, that's not arguable. What is kind of puzzling and confusing to me is in some pics the quad sweeps look insane, unbelievable, like in the middle. But in some pics, like on the outer sides of the screen, they still look very good, but they're not quite on the same level. I don't know, so kind of an asterisk on this entry, I guess, but he sure belongs, you can see that. This is a nowadays competitor, Iain Valliere. He is impressive in the quad department, sporting some of the best sets of quads in today's lineups when seen from the front, and the same goes for the rear. He's got standout quads, especially compared to the calves. They look really huge, so props to Iain. And props to Josh Lenartowicz as well. He's from the 2010s. Look how bulbous and long at the same time the sweep look. He's got good thickness, and you definitely notice his lower body in the two rear poses. And it's not because his upper body is so weak, right? So this is a deserved spot on my list. Next, this is Hunter Brada. He's a hungry lion coming out of the nowadays bodybuilding scene as well. He's got great quads. The wheels look super thick with great muscularity, and the shape of them looks really pleasing too, at least to me. This is a 7-time Mr. Olympia from the 2010s. Phil Heath nicknamed the Gift for his great muscle bellies. Not known for his quad development because his upper body is even more impressive, but the quads are still world class, let me tell you that. You can spot some details in the quad sweeps, even from the rear, right? That's really impressive. And Phil's legs also look really thick due to his great adductor development. True, the hamstrings and glutes are even more impressive than the quad sweeps, but you can't deny these sweeps either. This is a 20s and 2010s bodybuilder, the big bad Dennis Wolf, who was known for incredible quad sweeps, and he even shows an X-frame from the back. That just goes to show how incredible his quad sweeps really were. The sweeps look like balloons. I gotta appreciate Dennis Wolf for the quad development. Now, this is another nowadays competitor, the Persian Wolf, Hadi Chupin, who now competes in the open division. He's got an awesome set of quads from the front, the separation is unreal, and Hadi's no slouch from the back either, if we look at the quads. Very nice long muscle bellies it looks like. The quads, and just in the right place, not too abruptly. And it's definitely a standout feature of Hadi's back poses, in my opinion. The next entry in this video is this gentleman from the 2010s. His name is Justin Compton. And I gotta admit, I was surprised to see how well Justin's quad sweeps looked in comparison with other bodybuilders. They really stand out, very bulbous. It looks quite ludicrous how big the legs look from the back, if you ask me. The sweeps are a real eye-catcher. So, Justin Compton's quads are very muscular with great shape. What more could you ask? Maybe this gentleman, the Brooklyn Beast Hakim Williams, today's competitor, has something to say about that. Hakim has got great feathering in the quads, and you can see that even a bit of a definition in his quads from the back. The size is just gigantic, and these quad sweeps give Hakim his freak factor. So you might be asking why Hakim isn't even higher up on my list. It's due to the shape of his quads, which I don't find very aesthetic, and objectively I don't think this is ideal. Look how short Hakim's quads are. Look where they end. I think it's basically a flaw in Hakim's structure because his upper legs are just too short, or the muscle bellies in his quads are too short. I'm not sure. Either way, it's quite a bit like his lats. They're not bad, they're just too highly inserted, in my opinion. I don't personally like the quads of Hakim, but I can't deny he's got a great set, muscularity and detail wise, so I included him. And we also have the 8-time Mr. Olympia, ushering in the alien-esque physique in the 90s and 2000s, Ronnie the King Coleman. Of course, Big Ron has got many features, many world-class body parts, and the quads are one of them. The King wasn't even known particularly for the quad development, but still they were one of the best of all time. The sweeps are so long and also very round and so beefy. Look how much muscle he's packing on there. He's so incredibly developed in the glutes and abs though. The quad sweeps and the thickness of Ronnie's legs is not even the highlight in the back poses. And I'm not even mentioning the crazy upper body. Why Ronnie sits in this placing on my list is simply because of the sheer size, shape and development. That's inevitable and needs to be rewarded, even though the quad sweeps are not as much of a standout feature for him in my opinion. Next is the great Branch Warren from the 2000s and 2010s as well. As we all know, Branch's lower body is just insane. Crazy complete development. The quadriceps cannot be denied. They're freakishly big and so incredibly conditioned. I have to mention though, there's a caveat. I don't like the way Branch is displayed whatsoever. He spreads his legs so far away. I'm not saying he needs to maximize his height like the golden era icons, but this is just way too much, in my opinion. It looks odd, it doesn't look very natural, and in my opinion at least, it doesn't look good. However, on the other hand, look at the huge quad sweeps. Can you even believe that? It's quite baffling. And then look at the inner part of Branch's quad. The adductors are maybe even bigger. So this is just pure freak factor. It's just unbelievable, even though the execution is flawed, if you ask me. Next we have Kai Green from the same era, the 2000s and 2010s. Also a supreme set of wheels, and quads in particular are more than world class. I like Kai's posing style because it's really effective in showcasing his crazy sweeps. His glutes and hams are also world class, but the quads are very thickly developed and so they don't get overwhelmed. And also look at the shape of the Predator's quads, just perfect. Look how much the sweeps stand out. That's crazy big, really. Alright, we have a nowadays competitor, Mohammed Shaiban. He's not quite as famous as some of the guys I just mentioned, but the quad development in the back pose is, in my opinion, slightly superior on him. The quads are long and freaky. They're very dominant over any other muscle groups on Mohammed, and they got all the size in the world, so I have to applaud him for bringing this level of development in the quads and crushing virtually anyone else in this region in today's lineups, in my opinion. Well, maybe except from Hassan Mustafa. Apart from having a bit of a smooth set of quads compared to the goats of bodybuilding, he's just pure quality. Hassan's quads are massive, so well developed. This is a real standard muscle group of Hassan's physique. It can't be denied. This is thickness from another planet, like two big tree trunks. Look how much and how impressively the quad sweeps jut out from his leg. But next, we have a guy from the 2010s who is nicknamed the Quadzilla, Nicolas Williard. He's a shorter competitor, which gives him the opportunity to look even thicker and more packed with muscle than taller bodybuilders. It works for the lower body as well. I would say Nicolas is pretty short-legged. But that only helps the Quadzilla look even more muscular in the quads, so the tree trunks look to be absolutely jumbo-sized. So I'm giving him a big shout out. I think he looks awesome in the lower body. And now we're moving on to the overall top 5. And in 5th, I have the conqueror William Bonak. He's also short and stocky, and he's absolutely gotten one of the best lower body developments of this decade, if not of all time, especially if we're talking about from the back. William does not only have the size and thickness in the upper legs, but also great separation in the quadriceps, even when we look at him from the rear, which is just crazy to even think about that, in my opinion. Again, we have a scenario when the glutes and hamstrings are just as impressive as the quads, but I would still call the quads a standout. They also have a beautiful shape. The muscle belly of the outer head just looks correct. So not too much to pick apart about the Conqueror. But in 4th, we have an absolute freak, a young today bodybuilder, Vitali Ugolnikov. He's developed incredible quad sweeps. The size of them is barely even believable. The quads are such a dominant feature of good Vito's body, From the back, the display is perfect for showing the quad sweeps. It literally looks unreal. It looks like it's been photoshopped, which I hope is not the case. I've seen some Photoshop pictures, but I think these are legit. I'm not sure about the one on the right, but even in the middle and on the left, the sweeps look pretty unreal. So I was not afraid to put him in this video. I also think he's got a very bright future and he's only gonna get better. But we also have the mutant Nick Walker, another nowadays competitor who is a very hungry to improve and win. Nick places all the way in third place in my video, and I can't praise him enough because he's incredible, especially in the lower body at such a young age. He's got tremendous potential as well. Undoubtedly, he can improve on his quad development in the future and become even more of a freak. Take a look at the size and muscularity in Nick's humongous quads, both the outer and inner head. He also has a good display, and one more advantage for Nick. The asymmetry he's got in his quads is basically invisible from the back, in my opinion. The quads go incredibly well with his grainy physique and earn him the wow factor he needs. And moving on to the runner-up, this is our 2020 Olympia champ, Mamdou El Spear, or Big Ramy. I should probably stop trying to pronounce his name, but maybe one time I'm gonna get it right, we don't know. Anyway, what we all know is he has insane quads, especially the size of them is unmatched and cannot be rivaled by anyone else, really. That's a fact. He also has impressive freak factor coming from his quad development. The rest of his body can't seem to keep up with his thighs. So they're huge and the shape doesn't look half bad from the rear. You gotta agree, Remy looks unreal with these huge thighs. His lower body looks very thick. I only have one person ahead of him, and that's Baito Abaspour. He competed in the 2010 era in the open division and then in 212, I believe, because he was fairly short. Then he unfortunately died, so rest in peace forever. No, he's not a household name. By far not the most accomplished athlete of the sport, but I couldn't ignore him, not with these quads, because that's what this video is about, right? They also look like they're photoshopped. They're so big and catch your eye so much. A sight to behold. It's unbelievable. Even if you follow bodybuilding and you're used to seeing good quad development, I find this extraordinary. I've never seen quads that stand out so much in the reposes on a bodybuilder. These thighs were just incredible. So I need you to know about Baito, because he is very forgotten. I don't think people ever mention him, really, very rarely. But if you ask me, his quadriceps were one of the best sets of all time. So props to the guy. So that's all for this one. Let me know down in the comment section below, what did you think about the video? What did I do wrong and right? Feel free to let me know your opinion on my rankings too. And who would you have winning? Do you agree with me? I would love to know someone else's opinion too. Not just mine. That would be absolutely awesome to hear from someone. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to watch some best quads videos and also like and subscribe. Enjoy the rest of your day.